Welcome to the AMAC business meeting and election ratification. I'm Ricky Smith, chair of the AMAC board, and I welcome to you to the meeting. At this point, I will officially call the business meeting open and in order. The first item I want to do is to acknowledge the leadership of this organization, and that is your board of directors. I'm going to ask all the board of directors of trade, if you can stand, please. This, this is an amazing group of individuals who work tirelessly to support the national office to make sure that everything we do through AMAC is aimed at meeting your interests and responding to the feedback that we get from you and to make sure that our business is in order and that AMAC remains strong. And I think you'll hear from today's business meeting, the report outs, that AMAC the board is successful at doing that. And so I want to thank each and every one of them for their dedication. We don't pay them much, but they put in, but they work tirelessly. And so we appreciate that. So, just in case you were wondering, the position of AMAC is strong. The position of AMAC has never been stronger, and you're going to hear that message supported throughout the presentations that you will hear today. The membership is the highest it's ever been in all categories. As a matter of fact, I think our membership dues are up some 40%, which is remarkable. The chapters, some of you, how many of you are actually in a chapter? One of this, okay. You're going to hear later an update on the chapters. The chapters have brought a level of energy and connectivity that I'll be honest, we imagined, but we weren't sure just how that would feel and look until they actually began their work. And so I want to commend the chapter leadership and all the chapter members for working with the national office and the chapters development committee. Someone's waving his hand in the back. Okay. For the patience and the tolerance and the professionalism that they've approached their work as we transition these. So far we have 7 chapters as we transition to get all 8 chapters chartered. And so again, the chapters has been a huge source of energy and expansion of our connection to local communities. As I mentioned earlier, the board continues to drive the priorities of the organization, and again, we're all aimed at making sure that we meet your interest, that everything we do is designed to meet your interest. In the national office, and I'm going to ask you to give the national, first of all, can we have those that are here? I hate calling them staff, the members of the national office team that are here. Can you please stand up, please? You know, this is, and there are many more. I think Ebony would say this if she was up here. She'll probably say when she comes up. You know, the ones that are not in the room raising their hand, that's because they're out there tirelessly working to hold this together. You know, it's not a physical or a violent group, although the work that they do sometimes feels like a contact sport. But they truly punch above their weight class. And we cannot commend and thank them enough for the amazing, amazing work that they're doing. When we say AMAC is strong and somebody's messing with the screen, okay, the screen will come back. When we say AMAC is strong, it has everything to do with the amazing work that we're getting from our national team. And so again, I want to commend them for that amazing work. So a couple years ago, the board announced, through me, the board announced a number of key initiatives that, one, are important to advancing AMAC's mission and vision, but also in response to what you've told us was important to you, right? And so I'm going to give a brief update on those initiatives, and then I'll bring our committee chairs, certain committee chairs up to give you update on those committees that are probably most important to you. So the first one I want to talk about is probably is one of the newest ones. So a couple business meetings ago, a couple conferences ago, we announced that we were going to explore the opportunity to establish an AMAC executive search firm. Not a week goes by where some organization isn't calling AMAC, the office, asking them for advice or referrals on professionals for their organizations. And so, you know, in the spirit of trying to diversify our revenue source and at the same time, you know, provide the service that you're looking for, AMAC's way, we thought that we would look to monetize that value. And so we pulled together a committee chaired by Nikki Harlan. Nikki is here. She just stepped out. She's probably out talking to an executive search firm. She just stepped out. No, I don't want to start any rumors. Nikki's not talking to an executive. There she's right. Nikki Holland in the back, walking in red. Nikki chairs that group. John Foucher, Crystal Davis, and Jeanette Saunders are the co-chairs. If Crystal and Jeanette, I know John's not here. If they're here, you can just stand up, please, so we can embarrass you. Recognize you. Again, amazing work leading this effort, and they've made enormous progress. And so the first thing they did was they developed a partnership model. You know, what would that structure look like? And so, so once they were settled on that, we were able to put an RFI on the street to gauge the industry's interest in partnering with AMAC. We got several responses, which we were very excited about, and we narrowed those down to 8. And so the committee is evaluating those 8 potential partners, and we expect to announce that partner sometime in the first quarter of next year, no later than the first quarter of next year. So we're very excited about this opportunity. Again, it will create a new revenue stream for AMAC, and it will also give us the opportunity to provide service to our membership, to our public, in the way that AMAC thinks it should be provided. So again, we're very excited about that. Another initiative that we talked about was, that I just talked about, was chapters development. I think it was 3 conferences ago that we announced that we were going to do a solicitation to start national chapters. You gave us the authority to do that, and we moved forward. And so at that time, we issued an RFP, a request for interest to 8 chapters. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because Justina Mann's going to come up and talk about this. But I will say this, that we now have, chaired by Justina Mann, and I think Michael Washington is here as well. If those, and Kimberly Sutton, if you can stand up, please, if you're here. They are the chairs and co-chairs of that committee doing amazing work. And so we now have 7 of the 8 chapters chartered. You can clap for that. The board of directors just approved the 7th chapter at the last board meeting. That was the Atlanta chapter. And so we're very happy to have, all right, calm down, Atlanta. Atlanta, y'all acting like Chicago. Myrna's looking at me. She was just waiting on me to mention Atlanta. She's so happy. No, we're very happy to have Atlanta in the fold. I think most of the people in the room recognize the importance that Atlanta plays in AMAC's history. And so to have them as the 7th chapter brings a high level of excitement. Again, I talked about the energy that the chapters are bringing, and so we're looking for that to be expanded as we bring on more chapters. Going forward, again, we're still kind of developing the process and the administration of these chapters. The chapters development committee is responsible for vetting and bringing the chapters on, and then they turn them over to the national office, who has the responsibility for actually managing and coordinating with the chapters to make sure that we have order and consistency. And so we will establish a council of presidents. And the purpose of the Council of Presidents is to give the chapters themselves a forum where they can talk about their interests and be able to communicate those interests to the national office and to the board. There will be a representative from the Council of Presidents on the AMAC board as well. And so again, we're trying to enable the chapters to be as influential as we expect them to be. And we want to create that alignment so we can always make sure we provide them the support that we need. And again, I don't want to steal Justina's thunder, but we will be announcing the expansion of chapters from the 8 that we have now to more chapters, because there's a lot of pent-up demand for more chapters, and so we want to meet that demand and continue to establish the connectivity that the chapters bring. The third initiative is the newest initiative, and this is the Supplier Diversity Initiative. We announced this last year, and immediately after last year's conference, The board, we established a committee to lead this one, and that committee is chaired by Sheila Hudson. There's Sheila Hudson right there, who's the chair. So I'm excited about all of these initiatives, but this one I'm excited about for another reason. The co-chairs are Steve Johnson, Greg Parodies, and Michael Savaskas. Those are three co. We have more co-chairs, but I want to pause on them for a second, because this is the first time in this industry that a trade organization has been able to bring the president CEOs of what are the three of the four largest food and retail airport operators in the world. And they're not just names. I mean, we asked them to provide a representative to be on the committee, and we can't stop them from showing up. I mean, so they are actively engaged in supporting Sheila and all the work that she's doing to move this forward. We also have Kevin Swan, and I think we all know Kevin Swan. We rely on him so much to help advance minority issues and construction and engineering. We have Marlene Coleman, a board member who's here somewhere. She can raise her hand. There she is. And Simeon Terry, who is one of our vice chairs, who's here as well, who's also a stalwart and a masterful professional in the way of making sure minorities have access in the construction industry. And so this group has been very, very busy. They established a subcommittee that's been doing a lot of the on-the-ground work, progressing there. And they've launched several initiatives. One is the supplier diversity, well, they're considering three initiatives. One is the Supplier Diversity Institute or University. You'll hear more about this in the coming months. The goal there is to try to establish an apparatus where we can train and develop those that want to get their supplies on the shelves in airports. We've learned pretty quickly that it's more than just announcing an initiative. It is a very complicated process for preparing your items to be on the shelf in airports, and we want to train and prepare those that are interested to do that. And so we'll begin to do that through this university or this institute. Collaborating with other trade organizations. There are other trade organizations like the National Minority Suppliers Development Council that are already good at this, and so we want to learn as much as we can for them and perhaps partner with them on certain initiatives to advance this interest. And then also partnering with national brands, right, that can bring some credibility to this effort and make it easier to introduce some of the smaller brands. You've seen some of that already during the conference. A few mornings ago, we hosted a brunch right across the street. I forget what the place is called, but Stationary, I think. Stationary. It was hosted by Sheila Hudson, which included Ron Isley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Anthony Anderson, where they were able to kind of showcase their projects and their products. And again, the goal there was to create some energy around this supply diversity initiative. Ebony interviewed Fawn Stevens yesterday, who talked about Uncle Nearest and that amazing brand. Again, that's just one more example at a high level of the types of products that are out there that may not be as well known as an Uncle Nearest, for example, but that doesn't mean that they're not great products. There was a session yesterday that Michael, Steve, and Greg served on. Again, kind of bringing some insight in terms of how you can go about getting your products on the shelves. We're also looking to produce an AMAC Shark Tank. Now, this was the idea of those three people that I mentioned. This is not my idea. It wasn't Ebony's idea. It wasn't Sheila's idea. Michael and Greg and Stephen, I mean, they almost insisted that we consider having this Shark Tank-like event. And so we're looking to develop that and produce that and have that introduced over the next several months. And so we're excited about that as well. On the screen, I can't see this. Well, the screen has a QR code. So this QR code, if you are someone who has a product that you like to get on the shelves at an airport, or you are a supplier, or if you know somebody who has a product or is a supplier, this QR code will link you with a database that we're beginning to form. One of the first things we need to do is understand who's out there, right? What's the universe? And so we're developing this database, and so you can take your phone, link into this QR code. It's a very simple form, a survey document that you pull out, that you fill out, and that'll be the beginning. And so again, if anyone else out there that we're not aware of that is interested in having their items on the shelf at an airport, please tune them into that QR code. The Airport Leadership Collective. So this is a group of airport directors and CEOs and commissioners around the country. We have about 40 of them now. And so what we kind of decided with them is that the idea of tying up airport directors in monthly meetings is probably a waste of their time. And so we're meeting now probably quarterly, and the kind of work that they're doing is they're really inspiring efforts for AMAC as opposed to actually coming up with programs themselves. John Clark is the chair of the ALC, and he's doing an amazing job leading that group. As I said earlier, we have about 40 members in that group now. One of the highlights, one of the things that I think we're most proud of coming out of the ALC is this idea that, or this reality, that we're seeing more African-American women become airport CEOs or position themselves to be aircom CEOs. That is very long. That is long overdue. And if you pay attention to a lot of the deputy CEOs, the deputy airport directors, there are a lot of sisters out there that are in these roles. And so we're gonna see a tsunami coming soon of black women becoming airport CEOs, and I think that'll be an amazing thing. And so that was something that the ALC spent a lot of time talking about how we could strategize around. The ALC Fireside Chat, for example, I know that's near and dear to Karen Ellis's heart, where we feature amazing women professionals in the industry on a regular basis. The AMAC internship and the membership programs are inspired by the ALC, gives us a chance to reach out to our youth. The business capacity accelerator, Ebony's going to talk more about that in her presentation. We've had some amazing success. As a matter of fact, I think Ebony would probably say one of the successes has been the highlight of the year for her. That was inspired by the ALC. And also the work that we're doing with the Airport Cooperative Research Program, the ACRP, to position ourselves as a thought leader, right? And doing research to influence public discourse around issues important to us. Ebony will probably talk about that or touch on that as well. We've had some very good success there. It's been very, very difficult to achieve that success, but we've had that success all the same. And again, that was inspired by the ALC. The last thing that the ALC is pushing for is to try to get an understanding of best practices in procurements. When we talk about wealth creation, we could talk about that from a conceptual standpoint at a high level, but where you really begin to break down the walls to create wealth creation through government contracting is through procurement regulations and procurement practices, right? And procurement procedures. And so there's some airports that do it better than others. There's some practices out there that can be modeled across the country, and so we're going to launch an initiative to create this, again, as a thought leader, to create this document that kind of highlights the best practices in procurement and solicitations, and then to try and push these best practices to airports all over the country. And so, again, the ALC has been pretty busy, but we've tried to use their time in a much more respectful manner than in the past. Let's see. The latest, I think this might have been, this is the second youngest initiative that we asked you guys to support, and that is the Women's Summit. Bridget, who's our vice chair, came up with the idea that we should have a more intentional focus around women and the issues that are important to women, those role models out there that are women. And so the group worked together. The committee includes, now this is a crowded room of women, okay? So this was, again, our own vice chair, Bridget Baegas was the chair, Karen Ellis, Lon Mangum-Reed, Angela Giddings, Cynthia Guidry, Nikki Harlan, Demetria Whiteman, Maria Martinez, Jeanette Saunders, Andre Titus, and then several representatives from ATL all came together to pull together this She Soars Women in Aviation Summit, which we're so excited about. How many of you have registered for that summit? Come on. Women, if you haven't, well, then this is an opportunity for you to do that. I think I have a flyer here for it. We'll get you a flyer. But the summit is very important. When Ebony comes up, she can give details on the date and the location, but it will be hosted in Atlanta. And again, we're excited about furthering our efforts to make sure that women have access to opportunities in this industry. You see the website there that you can pull up and link and go online and register. It's a 2-day summit. And again, we're excited about having this summit come online. A lot of hard work has gone into it. The last item I'll talk about real quick before we bring up the committee reports is the Capital Development Initiative. We also formed a committee to come up with strategies for kind of breaking down this access to capital issue. And so that committee has been doing a lot of hard work. I think several of the committee members are here. That committee was chaired by Sade. Is Sade? There you go. Sade's been Brett Kelly's been a good chair. Is Naya here from Fraport, another member of that committee. Last year, we announced from this committee that AMAC formed a partnership with Lendistry. Lendistry is a national lending organization that provides access to capital to small and minority-owned firms. The committee now is working on other relationships of that type, and I think in the coming days or months, we'll be able to announce some other opportunities there. And so those are just some update on some of the special initiatives that you've approved, that you've supported, that you've asked us to work on, and the progress that made there. And so now we will go into a deeper dive on some of the key committees. Those committee chairs will provide reports. And so I'm going to ask Bill Swift and Jovan to provide the Finance Committee report, and then they'll be followed by Tosin Kasali, who is our membership chair. He will provide the membership report. Justina Mann, the chair of Chapters Development, will provide an update on chapters. And then once those committees are done, we will go into the results of the election process. By the way, we did have an election. And most of you are probably here with that. And so with that being said, again, I want to thank you for coming out to this meeting. I will come back up at the end of the meeting. But for now, I will turn it over to Bill Swift, chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Ricky. Well, this process we're going to go through is short, and I'm going to try to make it very clear. We've done it primarily with charts rather than the detail that backs up those charts. Certainly any question you may have, we're more than happy to answer. This is part of this process is to demonstrate, one, that this is a trade organization made up of members. And our position is being transparent to the members that we're supporting and working with. And as a member, I too am concerned with how we run AMAC, as I'm sure you are. And the future and growth of AMAC is predicated on how well we run it as a business, as an organization, and certainly your support of that organization. I'm hitting the right button. This is the makeup of that committee. For the most part, this is a committee that is either elected or paid consultant, or, as in the case of Jovan, or appointed by the chair of the organization, supported by the board approval. And part of that is just the controlling how we manage the financial matters of the organization. But all of what we do is clearly available to any member. I should comment first on that committee. As we all know, we're all volunteers except for Jovan and Ms. Wimbush. The rest of us support it, go through it. We're a part of other organizations that have financial responsibilities, and that's part of what we brought to being members of this committee. And through that, I want to a shout out to Jovan, who has worked tirelessly with me on preparing much of the material that's in this presentation and throughout the process of the regular committee meetings. First, I'm going to point out, from a financial perspective, the asset position that you're reviewing here is based on December 31, 23. And it has improved from that. Part of what we're pleased with is our cash reserve. During COVID, we took a hit, an unexpected hit. So did the world take that hit. And our annual conference was the way we financed the running of the organization every year. And we're always fairly close to the amount of money that we took in from the annual conference, to covering the staff members and operational requirements for that year. When COVID hit, we realized that has to stop. That has to stop. You'll see later in one of the slides how our revenue was around 400,000 versus a couple of million. We then pressed ourselves, the organization, the staff, to say, how do we make sure that we have a reserve that can accommodate the operation of the organization for an entire year? Not 6 months, not 9 months, but an entire year. A $2 million reserve is more than enough to cover us for not 1 year, but a year and a half comfortably with the current staffing, current cost of operations, and that's presuming we have no income from the normal events that we host. The annual conference, any regional events, the grant funding, that's zero income, and we're still able to serve our members in the manner they want to be served. And it is to that extent that we've made significant progress in that category, and I think you appreciate the kind of commitment from the committee, the staff, the organization, and certainly the board. Did I move that? Oh, here we are. Thank you. And again, this goes back to how we are generating the revenue. You'll notice that a substantial part of it comes from sponsorships, 1.5 million, and that's based on 23. We've improved since then, leading up to this conference. The number of memberships has improved, as Ricky alluded to earlier in the discussion, was that our membership is up 40%. That's not necessarily reflected in these numbers. Our sponsorship is also up. Our registrations are up. This is how we are attempting to drive the success of the organization, and our grant efforts are up. So we see ourselves as changing the model of AMAC in terms of its financial strength, its capability to perform, and at the same time, accelerating how fast we're able to respond to the changes in this industry. And we think we've done that, both on the concession side, the engineering and construction side, because we see ourselves covering all those bases, as well as what's necessary associated with the legislative process that we're going through, and in anticipating what might happen and should not happen politically going forward. I should also mention that we are a 501c6 organization. So we can take positions on how we run this organization in support of our membership, in support of those of you who are in business. This is a business organization that's driving the success of its members. So that's easy for us to say, this is why we're doing various things. And you'll see that, as we've already stated, in how we've improved the financial position of the organization and how we see the future of the organization. And through the leadership, Ricky Smith, who has a name very close to mine, and the rest of the board have taken a position that is very clear what our purpose is. And finally, one other aspect of this process, we do a budget every year. We try to project the future. And each time, we're in a position that we can adjust on the fly to make sure that even with our reserve, that we can adjust if the conditions change, if the market change. And again, that's part of what happened with COVID, is making our organization a very responsive organization that we can change on the fly, modify how we do business, reduce costs where necessary. We've got that. Now, this chart really doesn't reflect the real world. It looks like it went down because of COVID, and it's climbing back up, and it's going back down. Well, that's a product of just demonstrating what the numbers are like. But it's close to how we see the world, that we see it very clearly on revenue and expenses, matching those in a way that makes sure that we never have a problem. Now, no debt, no litigation, damn. Prior year audit findings, no findings. Tax returns, 2023, done. And I skipped to Tosin, but Tosin's not part of this presentation. Yep, that's it. Now, we're open for questions, but I'm assuming that you have any questions for the audience. If you don't have any questions for the audience, you can certainly pull me to the side, or Jovan, or certainly Ricky Smith, and we can go from there. One question. Thank you. Belinda.
We just had a session on governmental affairs, and I just wanted to know how we're doing in terms of our contributions to that effort, because I know how important it is to our future.
It is a good question. I can sort of answer the question to this extent. Because it's a volunteer committee, and we made sure, and this is a separate piece from AMAC, the trade organization, to AMAC, the PAC. The PAC is one way of answering, from a legislative perspective, how we take it beyond the committee. And if I can answer that without getting too far under this trade organization, saying the PAC has to be supported. Just as you support the trade organization, the PAC needs to be supported. That message is important to the organization. Who we reach, those politicos who make decisions, have to be reached. How do we do that? And again, taking the hat off, this is Bill Swift saying, by making sure they have the funding where possible and necessary for them to run, to be the elected officials that we want in the positions of making decisions for us. Does that help? No other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. All right. This is not 2 Chainz, because I think a lot of people are still recovering from that yesterday. But so in the interest of time, let's see. Okay. I think we're running a little behind schedule, so I'm going to run through this pretty swiftly. Pun intended. So good morning again. I'm Tosin Kasali, Vice President of Business Development with HMS Host. I also have the pleasure of serving on the board as the at-large director on the board for at least the next 20 minutes, but we'll see. And I also have the privilege of chairing the membership committee as well. And I will say, and going on the theme that the chairman already had, is that membership is strong. In front of you, I will run through some of the highlights from 2023 to 2024 year to date. One of the initiatives, and I want to recognize Ramon in the national office. Prior to Ramon's hiring, I think a lot of the people on the membership committee, which was a very, very strong, very well intended committee, we did a lot of the heavy lifting, obviously with the help of the CEO and president and also the board chair. But Ramon and team, Andre's in the room, they've done an extraordinary job kind of supporting the membership committee and just taking on some of the things that we were doing as a committee. And then now we're just in a support role. So I want to start by just at least giving them a round of applause. for the work that they're doing. And so some of these highlights are a lot of them are attributable to them and the work that they've been doing over the last year. And I'll just kind of run through some of them. Again, sifting out non-renewed members, which I think nobody in this room should not be a non-renewed member. So if you are a non-renewed member, please pay your dues right now. And one of the things that we've gotten feedback on is, hey, I became a member and all of a sudden I don't know what to do next, right? So what we've developed is an online response, if you will, that's automated, where once you sign up for membership, you get a welcome package that gives you all the ins and outs of how to get involved and how to be an active member of AMAC versus just being a member on paper. Another initiative is improving the membership data collection. Some of the fields that we are now collecting, as an example, is whether you're certified, where you're certified, just to have a repository that we can pull from in the event that at some point, as a company, HMSOs by Volta, we're always looking for partners in different markets. So this could be a resource for some of us to say, if I'm looking for an opportunity or looking for a partner in a certain market, I can use the AMAC database to search for people and then have a list or a short list of people we can work with. So that's something that's, I think, from a data collection standpoint, and we know data is one of the most sought after things in the world today, right? So data is key. You will hear from Justina in the chapter's development, so I won't take much time responding to that or covering that, but excellent work on the chapters that have already been stood up, and you'll hear more details about that. But we've been obviously working on, support Justina, whatever she needs. So please, if you need anything for membership, talk to Ramon. Okay, so the membership calendar is also being reset from May 1 to April. It used to be May 1 to April 30th. Now it's January, so it's a calendar year now, which would help the budget cycle of a lot of different organizations. So this is one of the reasons we wanted to make the change. It's also easier to manage memberships kind of on a yearly basis to know when people come in. And then the renewal efforts, again, something that we're ongoing, that's always ongoing, is getting people to renew their memberships and still be an active member within AMAC. And then last but not least, we developed a quarterly member orientation for new and current members who just need to be refreshed or tap back into the organization and see what's happening with the membership and with the rest of the organization. And then on the next slide, very, very proud of these statistics. Again, hats off to everybody involved. As you can see, year to date, and just going to 2023 versus 2022, you can see a 46% increase in memberships year on year, which is fantastic. So round of applause for everybody who's remained with AMAC and has supported AMAC and is also part of these numbers that we're seeing. So as you can see, each category, 86%, 40%, 30%, 45%, and 52%. Again, these are all, I believe, our record numbers, but we got to fact check that. But I think generally these should be pretty straightforward. And then year to date, again, we're still trending to have an increase of 26% year on year, and this is just through June. So again, everything that everyone is doing, if you've brought a friend in, if you brought a colleague in to support the membership, thank you. These numbers aren't my own, they're our membership, so thank you for that. And with that, I think that concludes my presentation, but I'll take questions if there are any. Okay, have a great conference, guys.
Thank you, Tosin. So good morning, everyone. I am very excited to talk to you about chapters for as swiftly as I was instructed. And I will say, like Tosin, pun intended. So I want to first, before I get started, and I see a lot of them on the room, I just thought about it as I was thinking about them, my chapter wives. You guys have work husbands, I have chapter wives. And so all of our chapters are represented actually in the room, the 7 that we mentioned. So I'll go, of course, with the first that was started. So Carla, will you please stand as the president for Baltimore, Washington chapter? I want to make sure we recognize her. And then we have Chicago's room. And is Doreen in the room? Doreen's not in the room, but we'll also recognize that is Lisa in the room from Denver? And Lisa, please give her a round of applause. And we'll give the Chicago, by the way, I see the rest of the Chicago executive team in the room, so we'll make sure to give tie as well as Tracy. A round of applause as well. Sorry for that. And is Alicia Ivy in the room? She is the newest chapter president from Atlanta. But I do see Walter here in the room, who was the steering committee for that effort. Of course, I can't forget about What Up Though, Detroit. Will you please give Lori Ballard a round of applause? Absolutely. Thank you for being in the room. So I didn't go in order. Oh, the list is right here. Jeez, that's what I was trying to talk too fast. When we first started this effort, we had the intention of having representation in each of the regions. And so that's where there were 8 chapters that were formed. Oh, I have the mouse up here. And so with that, we have 7 of those 8, the only outstanding. And I don't know if I missed anyone. I got them right here. Portland. Is Portland in the room? Kimberly Sutton, who is also the vice chair, and Portland is being revived. They had a good talking to yesterday, and we're going to get them on board as well. In Los Angeles, is Martha in the room? All right. Well, I know Martha as well as the rest of the LA chapter. So all of the officers from each of those clubs chapters, please excuse me, will you stand up? All of the officers that are in the room. And then we will also have the members who are members of those chapters. Please stand up. All the members as well. All right. So you know what? But wait, there's more. Everyone in this room has an opportunity to be involved with the chapter. You forgot to stand, Ricky. I don't know how you missed Baltimore. So in order to be a member, of course, everyone in this room, we counted on you being here for the ratification. So you are AMAC national members, so you are eligible to join a chapter for AMAC. And so all we ask you to do is when you do your renewals to sign up. And if you have already done that, I believe the process is to request an invoice and you'll be able to join. It's $50 per chapter per person. And that is, of course, an annual charge that you will be contributing to the chapters directly because that money goes straight to the chapters. It is paid to national office. You only have to do one little thing, which is choose a home chapter. And so when you choose your home chapter, it has to be where you have your business, or you have to live in that state or have a business in that state. And that's a chapter where you can actually vote. Now, you can vote as well as you could be an officer, as well as you can be a participant in a committee. However, if you have business in other cities, you are also welcome to join those chapters. All right, so now what I wanted to talk about after recognizing the chapter is we have several other opportunities to recognize them. I hope you'll be at the Catalyst Awards where we'll be announcing some of their specific accomplishments. That wasn't the purpose of this meeting. And then we also have a chapter leadership training that's going to happen. What's next is we are going to have the Council of Presidents, so you will have representation from the Council of Presidents on the actual trade board to inform all of the board members and officers about what's going on at the local level. We wanted that additional connection. We all know that it is a big deal to be allowed to participate as well as attend the annual AMAC conference. The chapters are a way to extend that opportunity behind this annual effort. And I will tell you when I see folks, oh, I haven't seen you. Oh, it's been a year since the last event. The chapters will allow for you to have that additional connectivity. They have some awesome strategic plans and planned events that I think we're going to be asking all of you in this room to continue to support. So my call to action for you is to support the existing chapters. We do have their information on the AMAC national page. There is a chapters page, as well as participate in chapter development. So that is the thing that I'm going to talk about next. In order to develop a chapter, there are some very simple requirements. I do have one chapter that I'm working with outside of the 8 that were approved that has expressed an interest, and that is in New York, New Jersey. So we'll give them a round of applause in advance. Absolutely. And I also forgot to mention that I appreciate the chapters that have already started because they have, it's not only set the tone, but they have extended great grace in their standing up of the chapters because this was the first time for AMAC to do that. So online, there is a chapter interest form, and that's where I would like everyone who wants to start a chapter to go and express that interest. The distinction between chapters development and the National Office Chapters Development Committee works with the chapters, and we come up with a strategic plan to determine what's going to be the best areas based on the interest, the activity, the support that we have, and then we'll execute against that. We bring them all the way up to where they're approved, and then we work with them to get them chartered. And then once we approve their charter, it goes to the national office. They're an actual club, and then national takes over. So that's why you'll have Ramon that you talk to a lot once you have formed your chapter. The AMAC strategic plan has chapters interwoven throughout. So if you want to know what's coming up next with chapters, please read that. Please plan to participate and be involved with that. Um, the chapters, again, you just need to have a membership campaign. You have planning meetings, and that's where you drum up and understand who is going to be active and interested to be able to be eligible to be an officer. We have you put together a strategic plan for the chapter. Tell us what it is that you want to do with the chapter, how it is that you're going to accomplish it, who you will engage from your local areas. You will have an officers election. You'll submit that list along with your potential members list. The chapter charter fee is not something that you have to worry about because we take that out of the membership dues that come up from the first members that join. The minimum is 20. Everyone has at least done 5 times that as far as their projected members. And then we want you to submit your AMAC chapter bylaws, which are in line with the trade bylaws. So we look forward to your participation. Please sign up if you're interested in looking at a chapter in your city through the chapter interest form. If you are in one of the cities or regions even that we have noted that have chapters, we ask that you reach out to them and join their chapters as well. You can join all of them, just $300 a year. That would be just like 1 less pair of shoes for some of the women, just like 10 less cigar sticks for the men that are in the room. So if you Yes, and you too. I'm joining too. So, without further ado, I was asked to speak swiftly, so I'm going to bring up the AMAC President and CEO, Ebony Wimbush, to give her President's report. Is she in the room? No? No, we're going to skip to Nick. Oh, Ricky told me to do that. This is the best part of the meeting. Let's give Nick an opportunity to come up and make the presentation.
I'm just here to establish quorum. Good afternoon, everyone, Mr. Chair, Madam Secretary, esteemed members of the council. Please be advised that we have established quorum for today's business meeting and election results. So drum roll, everyone.
Thanks, Bridget. All right. Good morning. All right, my name is Nick Ryan, and I'm happy to serve as the Nominations and Elections Chair. As Bridget mentioned, we do have a quorum. I want to thank each of you for your grace. There's been a lot of information that was shared today, but I do want to walk through the process for those that want to get involved in future years. So bear with me. I just want to go through some things here. I do have the results, so I'll go through that after the process. So put you on ice for a little bit here. All right, so these were the open positions for this year. They're on the screen now. There's chair, second vice chair, regional directors for Eastern, Southwest, Western, Southeast, and then there were 2 at-large directors. All right, awesome. This is an overview of the schedule, and a lot of this information is put out every prior to the actual schedule online. There's a guide memo, and there's a website dedicated to the nominations and election process. But just going through the schedule, we kick off the nomination period April 1st, and this year it was 30 days consecutively. On the 23rd of May, we presented the slate of nominees for those that were nominated for the board for board approval. Then we went into the campaigning, and a lot of you all did a fantastic job campaigning, and we'll go into that in a second. Campaigning went from May 30th to July 31st this year, and it concluded because the voting period ended on the 31st of July. And then just moments ago, the duration between the 31st and today was Javon and his team putting together reviewing all the voting to make sure everything was accurate. And moments ago, I got the election votes, which I'll share in short order. So I want to start with this is delay here. Okay, perfect. So nominations. So how we did the nominations, we put out some solicitations for requesting nominees. We did that through email. Throughout the month, we did outreach by social media. We encouraged multiple ways to solicit nominations, and it went up. Last year, I think we had 17. This year, we almost doubled that with 31. Then campaigning. with the campaign process, we did things a little different this year. In prior years, those that have campaigned may have received the membership directory. This year, we thought that it was, in moving forward, we thought that we need to keep that that important asset for the association and not share that, right? So, and as a workaround, what we did is we established a Meet the Candidates website that many of you have been able to access, which included video recordings of the nominees, included their bios, photos, and it was a repository for information for each candidate. We felt that was fair and equitable for those that were going through this process, and moving forward, that would be the process for the campaigning. And all the while, we pushed with all the publications, we pushed all the marketing, we pushed folks to that page. Then we got into the voting, right? So voting through the month of July, we pushed out communications through Javon's office for voting. That process went initially to the 27th. Many of you may know that, and then we heard that there were several that had the emails blocked by the firewall, so we chose a different route, back-in-house route that allowed the emails to go through. And it did push up some of the voting. I feel comfortable with the number of received votes. We were somewhere around 30 to 40% for each region. So that, leads us to where we are today. All right. Any questions on the process? I just wanted to provide a quick overview. All right. Awesome. Hearing none, we'll move forward. And thank you in the background. All right. So this is what we got. We have for chair, we have 2 at-large directors again, second vice chair, Southwest, and Western Regional. And I'm opening these results. There's no drum roll. Right now, I'm just making sure I get the enunciation of these names right. That's all. I think I'm going to start with, let me start with the easy ones. Let me start with the chairman. All right? So for chair, let me see. All right. All right, so chair this year, congratulations, Mr. Ricky Smith. Yeah. We look forward to your continued, 3 change. We look forward to your continued leadership. Second vice chair, Mr. Lance Little. I'm going to go to another easy one. For Western Regional Director, Mr. Michael Washington. Okay, so let's go with the Eastern Regional Director. The nominees were Robin Gibson and Ebony Gaynor. And the elected for Eastern Regional Director is Robin Gibson. All right, we'll go to Southwest Regional Director. We have Justina Mann and Goodwill Pierre. The winner is Mr. Goodwill Pierre. All right. Let's do Southeast now. All right. Southeast, we have Cheney Carter. I worked on that one. Okay, sorry. Shanae, sorry. Thank you. That's all right. I got you. And Maury Russell. Okay. Well, I get a chance to practice that again. The winner is Shanae Carter. All right. Now, what do we got left? We got the at-large directors, right? And you see there's quite a few individuals. Bear with me. And it's a reminder, there's 2 right out of these. So we have, I'm going to read this down, Dimitri Wadman, Siobhan Higgins, Kimberly Sutton, Denise Bailey, Tosin Kasali. I should say your name wrong, Tosin. Maria Martinez, Mr. Ken Whedon, Diego Rincon, and Tony Tyler. And the first at-large director, Ms. Denise Bailey. I don't see her. And the second, should mess up his name, Mr. Tosin Kasali. All right, so Ricky, I'm gonna bring you up to request a motion, and no, you could. Okay, all right. We'll bring up you, Bridget. Thank you. Yes.
I move to make a motion to accept the election results. Dwight, all right.
All right, congratulations.
You got that, Laura? You're welcome.
Thank you.
Motion still on the floor. Can we take a vote? All those in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.
Bridget, you gotta ask for a. Actually, I'm not. You gotta do if anybody's opposed. Thank you.
Everyone in the room say aye. Okay. I know. Man. Any opposition? Do we have any questions, sir?
Thank you for that.
Let's come up front. All the winners, please.
Denise here? No.
I'm Lance Little.
I'm Ricky. Smile. Ricky Smiley.
Kasali.
Robin Gibson. Chane. Carter.
Denise Bailey.
Lance Little.
Hi, my name is Goodwill Pierre.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ebony Wimbush. I am proud to serve as AMAC's president and CEO. I want to start with thanking the former members of the board and congratulating the existing members of the board. Please give them another round of applause. The people who served who are not serving anymore, they have contributed in a tremendous way to the organization. And their efforts will continue to move us forward. And I'm certain they will continue to serve the organization because they were not just elected for themselves, they were elected to pour into the organization because they believe and love this mission. And so I do want to thank each of you, and I look forward to working with those who will no longer serve on the board and look forward to working with the new folks. But about 3 years ago now, I joined AMAC, and I talked a lot about my vision for the future, and it included investing in our strategy, investing in you. And as you can see from the report that was previously presented to you, we are delivering on that. We are delivering on that as a board, as a national office, as a committee. as volunteers, we are indeed moving AMAC forward. A part of that investment is in our strategy. So in 2023, we worked as a national office and board together to really develop the strategy. We work with a smaller group of board members for the board members for the Strategic Plan Committee, and we developed a strategic plan that was approved right at the beginning of 2024. I believe it was passed out earlier, and Ramon is passing more out. But it focuses on 5 core pillars, and that includes advocacy, it includes thought leadership, wealth creation, operational sustainability, and leadership diversification. And so on each of those things, we are leaning into and doubling down to develop programming and to support the value of being an AMAC member. But in order to do any of this, we've got to start with investing in our members, and doing that, we invest in the national office. And so in 2023, even though it seems like they've been here for some time, but in 2023, we brought on 2 new members of the national office. And so we continue to grow the organization, not just for the sake of growth, but we have an ambitious plan. We have an ambitious plan to deliver value to you. And so we've brought on Andre Titus, our Senior Manager of Programs and Operations, who is not in the room, but out there working and really working with our event management team to put this conference together from an operational standpoint. And Ramon Lowe, our Director of Membership and Industry Engagement. Please give them a round of applause. Someone that really should be up here, but she's not new in 2023. She's been with us for a while, but she's moved into more of a full-time position. You've met her, Ashley Claw, at registration, and so she is an integral part of our membership team, and I wanted to acknowledge her. Yes. So there were questions earlier about what are we doing with advocacy and how are we continuing to ensure that the foundation of our organization, which is advocating for our members, advocating for our business members, and advocating for, when I say our business members, let me be more clear, right? Our mission is focused on the advocacy of women and minorities in aviation, and both in contracting and employment. And one of the central the core way that we do it is through the FAA reauthorization. That is where that program is housed. It was reauthorized in 2024, but our government affairs team and our national office worked together to ensure that we were submitting comments that supported the issues that were important to our members. Through the previous year, we did a series of listening sessions, and so we were successful in ensuring that that reauthorization moved forward. We were successful in ensuring that key provisions were included there. I want to answer whoever's question was focused on what else are we doing. We are continuing to build our bench of stakeholders to help us with our political and advocacy strategy. Some of you that came to our March Econ Opportunity Forum saw the actualization of that. And so we continue to do that. That consulting line item that you saw during the financial report also includes support there. We're ensuring that our voice is heard. Now, across the conference, you've seen significant participation from both DOT and congressional members. And so we are out there representing AMAC and its members to ensure that our voice is heard. Jeanette Saunders, our VP of Education and Advisory Services, she was selected to sit on the Transportation Research Board, their Aviation and Policy Committee.
I have the pleasure of representing each of you on USDOT's Transportation Equity Advisory Board. We selected Ernest Huffman to represent AMAC on an FAA Unmanned Aircraft System Detection and Mitigation Aviation Rulemaking Committee. So we're talking about the future. I don't know which session it was in, but all of these things, forward things, we've got to ensure that as we move forward, our voices are heard and we understand how to participate in these industries. Some of the significant things that we're doing is really making sure that we're developing programming. So we talked about the Business Capacity Program, the Business Capacity Accelerator Program, but in 2023, we spent a tremendous amount of time really building out the program, more than developing the framework, developing the curriculum, and then testing it, stress testing it with our partners, and then piloting it. So that goal, the goals of those programs include making sure that we're building capacity. We talked about that wealth creation pillar, and so part of that is bringing new learning opportunities. We did that in partnership, again, with many of our corporate partners. I'm not gonna belabor the information because we will make it available, but the framework includes both an educational phase, a business development phase, and a business growth phase. And so, it will be capacity building, mentoring, and then really participating in the overall community. We partnered with Morehouse to ensure that the program that we developed, the curriculum that we built, the stress testing that we did really met our objectives and was impactful. We graduated a class a month or so ago, and it was a resounding success. Actually, are there any members from the Business Capacity Accelerator Program from Morehouse here? I saw a few of them. Yes. You know what? I'm going to call an audible. Any comments about your time in that program? Anything you want to share briefly? Introduce yourself.
Graduates. I think most impactful for us is definitely learning in the sessions and then being able to follow up in the conference. We've had so many one-on-ones. We were able to take direct action, so we learned what to do, how to get into the airports, and again, having that direct access to primes, to developers, to airport directors, who then followed up directly with us, and now here we are this week. We've had one-on-ones, we've had lunches, and it's just come full circle. So definitely very impactful, real world, no fluff experience.
Thank you for that. So when I come before you next year, we'll talk about the same program on the AEC side. We'll talk about the cohort that will run through AMAC's national office. My vision for this program includes rolling this out starting with our chapter levels. We'll involve universities, right, to support the pipeline for the future. We'll involve our chapters. And so really looking forward to coming year after year to talk to you about the impact of that program. It will be a signature program for this organization. Ricky mentioned the work with ACRP. Some of you may know of ACRP, but they really are the think tank for the organization, or excuse me, for the industry. They're supported and funded through the FAA's Office of Airports, Airport Cooperative Research Program. They're actually exhibiting out in the Experience Hall. We had 2 projects that we are leading. Airport, the ACRP 0151 is improving airport organizational practices to enhance ACDBE and DBE participation. A significant milestone in the project is that it was approved for publication. You can go through these projects and do the work and may not find the work sufficient enough and impactful enough to release. We are proud to say that our research project has been approved for publication, and it's going to assist airports in doing more to increase participation. So really, hats off to the team that participated. Nancy West was our principal investigator. Jeanette Saunders was our deputy principal investigator. Our partners included Unison Consulting as well as Jacobson Daniels. So really excited that that information will be coming to the industry. We are currently leading a project called Equitable Workforce Outcomes, a study of women and minority representation at airports, and we're collecting airport data. How many of you actually work in airports? Okay, so we will be pushing out information on your participation, trying to understand the current practices and policies that are in place so that we can continue to improve those. And so I know you guys get a lot of surveys and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna come back to it. And then you never do, but we really need you to come back to the survey and provide information. As we've talked about our mission in increasing and advocating for women in this industry, you can see that through our Women in Aviation Summit, through this ACRP project, that we're really leaning into that part of our mission. So some of the upcoming programs include the Women in Aviation Summit. We've been working to develop along with the planning committee, and so that will take place October 1st and 2nd. Each of you, if you went to the Celebrating Women in Aviation, you had a flyer in your bag. We look forward to seeing you in Atlanta. 2025, if you have not heard, New Orleans International Airport will be hosting our 40th anniversary, and I want you to be there. I want you to tell a friend. It will be June 2025. So yes, so I look forward to seeing you there. In a few weeks, we'll announce the exact date. We look forward to seeing you next March in Washington, D.C., again, for our Economic Opportunity and Policy Summit. We're working to select the dates for that. You'll be hearing about that soon, but that is an important part of our advocacy. And last but not least, again, we've been working to get ahead and to build. And so we have worked in partnership to select our 2026 annual Airport Business Diversity Conference. And drum roll, please. You are amongst the first to know this. And so in 2026, we will be going to Maryland. Baltimore Washington International Airport will be hosting us. So New Orleans, Maryland, here we come. Thank you very much, Ricky, and the entire BWI team. So with that, I am going to take any questions, and then we will wrap up the meeting and see you at Catalyst. But any questions while Ricky comes up to close out the meeting? Any questions? Yes, sir. There's a question on the floor.
Thank you for taking my question, Ms. Winbush. Ramon Calderon with Six Rent-A-Car. Has AMAC considered developing a investment club program where members of AMAC can actually diversify their portfolios and invest in upcoming businesses through a program where we can shift it from the businesses investing in the members and versus the members now investing in the business?
I love that idea. So Ricky mentioned earlier that we have a capital development committee. So he mentioned Sade, who raised her hand. Raise your hand one more time so he can see you. Brett Kelly and a few others who are on that committee. There are kind of three pillars to that. We rolled out one of the pillars with Lendistry and that product as a financial product to help predominantly concessionaires, but as a financial solution. The second pillar to that really is an equity pillar, right? And so Sade and that committee are right now working on a strategy to do exactly what you said, whether it's members or just the investment community. And so I'd ask you to give your information to her, and we'd love to keep you up to speed on that. And we look forward to bringing that to you in 2024. And then the third pillar of that, and it's really important, you saw it in life here at the conference, is working with our government partners. There are many programs out there, and so there was a capital access program or workshop held by USDOT. USDOT has some resources and tools focused on equity and matching private equity to minority-owned companies. And so we're covering all of our bases to ensure that we're bringing solutions to you. There is not one fit for everyone. And so our job is to make sure that you have all of the resources, information, and tools available to you. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I want to thank Ramon and Andre. I'm a new member to AMAC, and this is the first time attending a conference, and they were phenomenal, helping me get onboarded and all the information I need, so I just wanted to thank them. The question I have is on the chapters. I'm just a tiny bit confused and wanted to clarify. I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was going to join the Atlanta chapter, but something I saw in the slides about where you're located and your business, am I able to do that, or would there need to be a Charlotte chapter started?
The short answer is yes, you absolutely can. Justina Mann, who is the chair of our Chapters Development Committee, can answer any additional questions. But yes, it means what she said is you may have a home state that, if there was a chapter, for example, in North Carolina, but you can join any chapter that you like. So if you're doing business or plan to do business in Atlanta leaders, Myrna, come see Myrna White here. She is one of the chapter officers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, with that, I am going to call up the newly elected chair of the AMAC Board of Directors, Mr. Ricky Smith.
All right, we're going to close out. Now that I know I'm chair for 2 more years, the next order of business, well, probably my first order of business will be to work with the board so there are a number of at-large board positions that are not elected. The board chair nominates those positions to the board for approval. All of those seats are aligned with the term of the chair. And so my term expired when Nick came up to the stage to talk about the election. And then my third term continued after I was announced and you approved me as the board chair. And so I will be nominating to the board who will be in those additional at-large positions. Okay, so that's the first important business for the chair. The second, which is also important, kind of unrelated, we've talked about a lot of success that we've had over the last year, and we've given credit to the board, we've given credit to the committees, we've given credit to the national office. Probably the most credit should be given to the individuals who started all of this. And so we actually have one of the founders in our organization, and Clark Sharp, who's sitting right here. Mr. Clark, if you will stand. And so that I don't get in trouble and I don't allow him to get in trouble, we also have his amazing wife, Jerry Clark, who's sitting next to him. I remember when the AMAC national office was a 1.5-person machine, and that one person was Ms. Clark, who ran the office, and I think she had a part-time person who worked with her, maybe a full-time person that worked with her, and did amazing work. So I didn't want to leave this room without acknowledging Mr. Clark, who's a mentor, a dear friend, an inspiration, and we're here because of the amazing work that he and other founders took on under very difficult situations. We think we're operating under difficult situations. The headwinds they had to take on were far more difficult, so I just want to thank you for that. With that being said, I will take a motion to close the business meeting. So we have a motion. We have a second. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone objecting to this meeting being closed? I'm hearing no objections. It is 12:09. Madam Secretary, the meeting is officially closed. Thank you very much.